And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, I suppose, depending on which time zone you're in. Welcome to the wearej6.com live stream held every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We are very glad that you guys are here, and we're actually excited for the discussion this week. Also, we want to just say a happy Holy Week to all those observing. Happy Passover from last week, and upcoming happy Easter and Resurrection Day for this coming weekend. It's a very important time, of course, in our calendar and in our, I think, in our nation's history and heritage, and it's actually directly connected to, of course, the mission of We Are J6 and the heart of who we're about and what we're trying to accomplish with these efforts. So as we always do, I'm just going to open us briefly with a prayer and just invite God into our midst and into this conversation. So Heavenly Father, we come to you today again with a renewed commitment to humility and grace and respect for each other. And God, we just ask for you to fill us with those virtues, to fill us with strength, to fill us with mercy and kindness, all the fruits of the Spirit, goodness, self-control, gentleness, and also that, God, that you would strengthen us with a clarity of mind and wisdom to understand the truth, to be strong and courageous, not to be afraid of anything that we should not fear, only to fear you, God. So that's our request, that's our prayer. And God, we ask specifically for your mercy and healing and your protection over the nation of America this week as we celebrate the incredible story in the Old Testament, in the Torah, where you created a people for yourself in the earth, the Israelites, and you rescued them out of an absolute state of tyranny, and rescued them from the hand of Pharaoh in Egypt. And we celebrate that. And this week we celebrate the culmination of that salvation arc with the story of Christ and the resurrection. So God, we just thank you for those stories, those truths. And we ask for your blessing over this country as we celebrate that and just remember who we are as Americans, who we are as citizens of this world that you've created. And we're just thankful for all those things. So it's in your Heavenly Father, it's in your name that we pray. Amen. Alrighty. In addition to just recognizing Passover and Easter, I also wanted to encourage us with a verse from the Bible, which is, it's got to be there's a lot of great verses in the Bible, but this has to be one of the best ones, I think. And you'll see why. I mean, certainly as we gather each week to discuss restorative justice, and of course, this is at the point where we've been essentially embattled in a war being waged against us by our own government for 4 years. And certainly there's been a major turn in that tide, but the battle still goes on, of course, as we know and are continuing to pursue. And it's easy to get discouraged and worn out. So there's a very amazing verse in Galatians, which says, my screen is so tiny. There it is. So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Or do not grow weary of doing good, as it is also said. So I thought that was encouraging. And I just wanted to encourage you guys and urge you to remember that it's so important that we don't give up, that we don't surrender, that we don't get tired. There's another great verse in the Old Testament in Isaiah from the prophet that says, those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up with wings as eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. So those are promises from God. We believe them to be true, and we walk in faith, trusting that those are true. And it's faith like that allowed me to reject a plea deal and go to prison. It's faith like that helped all of us to navigate, the J6 situation and all the difficult situations in our lives. So I'm just grateful to have that, and I'm really just humbled by the meaning of this week. Dr. Gold, you are, of course, welcome to give us a summary of your perspective in terms of restorative justice, whether that's legal considerations or also, um, public policy considerations and things of that nature. There's a lot going on in the news, of course. As well, we have another new persecution testimonial video from Cindy Young, which we're excited about. You'll see that coming up pretty soon. And we're also really glad to welcome Jeff McKenzie to the panel today. He has been really faithful in consistently showing up and participating in the live streams as an advocate of J6. And so we're glad to have him here. Look forward to hearing some of his thoughts and perspectives on what's been going on, through this journey. But Dr. Gold, please go ahead and share your thoughts this week.
Great, thank you so much. So in terms of the legal, I'm sorry, let me start always at the beginning, which is we have two goals. One goal is to change the common understanding of what happened on J6, not only because that is the righteous thing to do, and it will give us all some peace of mind if that happens, but also as a legal strategy that whomever we end up bargaining against will be responsive to what the public understanding of the situation is. Public sentiment on the subject will likely determine the parameters of any of the settlement discussion. That's just crucial. The way it is. If something is very popular and on the minds of the people, that will influence the people who are sitting at the negotiating table. Towards that end, every single individual who has been affected by J6, particularly the J6 defendant or their immediate family, has a story to tell. You probably have 100 stories to tell. We want those stories. We want those stories to sway the American understanding. We want them to be kind of emotional. As you know, we put a lot of work into editing them, producing them, and just making your story shine. And we need more people to submit stories. We are sorry that they're not all in the aggregate already up on We Are J6. We are really working as fast as we can. They will eventually be there. And one of my longer term goals is to have these videos archived in a permanent place, probably in a Washington, D.C. museum. These are the stories that the people need to see. Just the same as, think back to past historical events, people needed to see the historical references of people who went through that event. There is no substitute. There is no substitute. And we are the experts in that. And we are the ones who can attest to it. I am always still a little surprised because even when I talk to people who are absolutely on our side, who absolutely get it, they still don't understand the range of harms that we have endured. Understanding the range, the wide breadth of harms, not the depth. People can kind of understand the depth. If you've been thrown in jail, people can understand that. If you've been put in isolation, people can kind of understand that, or at least on the surface understand it. What they have no idea about, most people, even on our side, and I dare say people in the administration too, do not understand the range of harms to which we've been subjected. The fact that people lost their businesses, they were taken off PayPal and Venmo and Airbnb and all of these range. Yes, these are going to be listed in the table of harms that lawyers negotiate, but having personal stories about what you endured brings life. It breathes life into these harms in a way that there will be no substitute. So I can't encourage you more than just as a citizen, as a parent who wants my children and my children's children to watch these videos one day, and also as a lawyer who wants to be able to sit across the table from my negotiating partner and say, have you seen this? Have you seen what we've endured? Have you seen this? Right? So we need those videos, unbelievably important from a legal strategy as well. From the legal end, it's still a lot of discussion and talk behind the scenes. I want to encourage people. I haven't seen the questions yet. Everyone is always kind of anxious. Have I signed up with a lawyer? Have there been lawyer emails? You do not have to sign up with a lawyer yet. Our goal over the last couple of weeks seems like we are trying to shift to a way that not everybody even has to hire lawyers. Again, I'm still hesitating because I don't want to be emphatic, but this is the direction I'm leaning in, because we are looking to try to work out a settlement on behalf of everybody where people don't have to go and hire individual lawyers. Kind of a class settlement, not exactly a class action lawsuit. This is this is a unique legal situation. I'm sorry, John?
It's unprecedented
Yeah,
entirely.
it's a completely unique legal situation. So the lawyers believe class action is generally not indicated. At the same time, they all recognize for efficiency's sake, and so lawyers aren't being given all the money, right? Money, too much. They want to kind of look at this as kind of a class settlement, in which case the hope is that not everybody even has to hire lawyers. That is really the latest. We're laying it out in terms of categories of people who had like the 1512 thrown at them, people who only had misdemeanors, people who had allegations of violent assault, people who didn't have allegations of violent assault. Believe me, we understand the truth, but different categories so that the other side, when you negotiate, can sort of conceptualize, oh, there's 6 or 7 different categories. And then underneath that, there's something that we are calling the table of harms. There's about 47 different harms that we've identified. That was essentially by Brandon, John, myself, and Derek, and sometimes from emails or things people have said over these weeks. But there's about 47 different harms. And those harms should have a dollar amount attached to them. We're kind of looking at that now. Eventually, we'd like to have some consensus among J6 that this is approximately what we think this harm is worth, but it's a little bit premature right now. I just want you to know the conversations with multiple lawyers are going on now. We want, what I'm looking towards is having lawyers work together so it's more efficient for all of us. And that's where we are as of today.
Amazing. And I want to make a point, Dr. Gold, about the legal considerations that you and many other attorneys are currently going over and discussing, which is that as it pertains to lawsuits or any formal legal action against the government or involving the government, there are a number of issues that come up. For example, one is statute of limitations. Another is certifying a class if that's involved or relevant, and other things that are very much contingent on the current administration, what they're doing and how they're doing it. So, of course, that's a large, complex ball of wax, so to speak, and there are a lot of politics involved, and there's just a lot of time and bureaucracy involved. So that's part of why there isn't necessarily such a clarity on some of the answers, and it's not proceeding as fast as any of us would like it to, of course. But I want to encourage people that things are proceeding. Productive conversations and negotiations are happening, but also, like you said, a major component of not only the speed, but the overall success of those various conversations, negotiations, and eventual legal and government actions, whatever they shake out to be, a huge component of it is the rocket fuel of public support and public demand, which of course is ignited primarily by knowing and feeling and experiencing the truth and the full extent of the catastrophe and the breadth and the range of harms, like Dr. Gold mentioned, that a lot of people aren't really aware of and haven't fully considered. So that's a process that we're helping to facilitate.
I would, I just don't want, I'm not sure, John, if I don't want to leave the impression there are no official negotiations going on yet. I just want to say that. I don't know if anybody would have interpreted it that way. I don't think so, but just to be clear. However,
not official.
there have been unofficial conversations between lawyers who want to represent who have signed a contract with some J6 defendants and some people, friendlies in the administration. But there is, as of yet, no clear designated person on the administration side to receive this. And my understanding as of today is there has not yet been a specific proposal that would handle all of us in an organized way. There is disagreement amongst well-meaning attorneys about the best way to proceed on that. That's completely normal and to be expected. So that is also what's taking a little bit of time. Like, what is the best way to manage more than 1,500 harms, 1,500 people's harms.
Right. But I mean, in addition to various different lawyers who are involved or interested and have different ideas or theories, which of course is true, and that's always the case, but there's also a number of different potentially relevant government officials and members of the administration upon which all of this is totally contingent. So I think it's important to understand that it's not a matter of, well, this lawyer is conflicted or causing a problem with that lawyer or any other group. That's not really the issue. There are a number of ideas and theories. That's fine, but that's not really. If there was a problem, that wouldn't be the problem.
Yeah.
The main problem would be, what is the administration doing or thinking about doing, and how does that interact with who we are as defendants and the people that we're working with to support us and potentially represent us in one form or another.
I definitely didn't mean to imply that there was like anything negative. It's really a bit of a legal challenge to say, how are you going to handle 1,500 people whose situations are similar and different? Class action lawsuits, the people are very similar. It's kind of, the engine in the car, like anyone who bought the car, it's the same, right? But at the same time, if they handle us all as 1,500 different people, it's wildly inefficient, both for the other side and for the individuals hire the attorney. So we're trying to come to an efficient way that doesn't shortchange anybody. And that's a little bit hard. It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube, and different people just have different theories about the best way to go forward. It's a positive process. It's not a negative process.
Excellent. I also want to update the audience and everyone that is involved in supporting wearej6.com and just generally supporting restorative justice and a rebirth of constitutional governance in our nation. That's the heart and soul of this. So I essentially feel that I speak to everyone to say that we're excited about the continued efforts that we engage in every week here, every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern for the live stream, and the continued efforts during the week to connect J6ers and advocates together in support, encouragement, and putting in the elbow grease in the work, which primarily are collecting and presenting and sharing, amplifying these stories, the persecution testimonial videos. We're also working to prepare a visual product. I call it baseball cards. They're basically a quick visual reference to put a name and a face to each person, to humanize them so we know who these people are, and the country can kind of get to know the truth, the real story, who these people are and what's happened to them and how they connect into the whole American story.
One more thing before we introduce Jeff, I wanted to say that we have made some progress on the wearej6.com website. We've put up, other organizations. We want to always stress that we don't feel competitive with other organizations. We're trying to be, universal and inclusive and just be a way to advance all of our goals together. I'll just point out that Brandon Struck dropped a video 1 day ago or 2 days ago. I don't know, John, if you plan to show that today. And I just dropped in the chat a video that John and Brandon did actually with PragerU. Has gotten a lot of traction. The reason we all know these stories, I guess, but one of the reasons I pointed out is we want everyone to know that everyone's had an individual experience, but when you listen, you understand that Brandon and John and myself too, and Derek, we do understand the range of what we've gone through. I went to prison, John went to prison and isolation. Brandon did not go to prison, but he also didn't go in the Capitol. Like, we all had different experiences and we all were massively punished for it. So I do think it would help. It helps people to know that we too understand the range of harms that have happened to people.
Yes. If folks haven't yet seen Brandon's newest video, which is about 15 minutes long, it's really well done and very powerful, and allows someone, and this applies to many of you, who were coerced into a plea deal and could not tell the truth and lived in fear of retaliation and negative consequences if you were to say the truth or say something that was taken the wrong way or anything like that. So that's one of many particular interesting angles of how J6 occurred and what the consequences, the damages are to people psychologically and spiritually, as well as physically and financially, and all these other considerations. So yes, please watch and share Brandon's video. It's really excellent. As Dr. Gold mentioned, there's a really powerful and pretty thorough interview that Brandon and I both did together with PragerU. We're very thankful to Marissa Streit and the PragerU team for their courage and their support in platforming the story and this mission. So that's an excellent thing as well. And as you can see on the screen here, we've updated the wearej6.com website with the Alliance page, which features a description of the starting point for the legal discussions and the collaborations we're trying to facilitate, as we've been talking about today. And if you scroll down here, there is also our support group Alliance, and this is various different patriots and projects in the J6 sphere of support and recovery. And there's a lot of great people and a lot of great efforts going on. And we know these folks. So we're very grateful for each one of those groups and individuals and their efforts. We're very proud of them. And we really do believe in e pluribus unum, and that we are stronger together in unity. Unity is our strength across diversity. And that's an exciting new page. So we encourage people to use that and share that. And we will continue to develop the website further in the coming weeks, like Dr. Gold mentioned. So we're excited about that. And yeah, Jeff, Dr. Gold has communicated with you a little bit more than I have, but I'm very grateful that you're here and excited to hear your story and your thoughts and where you see yourself in the midst of this journey to deliver restorative justice.
Jeff.
Well,
Welcome, Jeff.
For having me on.
Yeah.
You kind of surprised me a little bit, but thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, no? Yes, okay. I was just making sure because my signal. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, 4 years ago next month, I met Dr. Clemens, and he asked me to be an administrator on his page, and shortly after, he asked me to join with the person Telegram, and whatever gave him a nice week.
Dr. Gold, I don't think we're gonna hear it, unfortunately.
Jeff, it's really difficult to hear you. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Perhaps he'll sign in or on again. I'm not sure. I think most of you know Jeff. I was pointed to him. He works with the professor, and he has been hosting a Telegram chat, I think more than 2 years, maybe it's 3 years, on Telegram in honor and in defense of J6ers. He has been just fiercely dedicated and fiercely loyal, and praying twice a day for all the J6ers, constantly posting everyone's names. It was actually very informative for me to hear everybody's names and to see everybody's names. He posted that quite frequently. So he absolutely cares deeply about the individual. I'm sorry that we've lost him, but for those of you who don't know his Telegram chat group, it is, oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to drop it into the group here. I have to find it. The Prisoner's Record. For those of you who don't know, on Telegram, the Prisoner's Record. And it's really a very positive place. And every time somebody was going into court or whatever happened in court or going to prison or getting released from prison, Jeff McKenzie was there. So anyway, I'm sorry that we lost him. While we're waiting or whatever, I can't say enough about turning in those videos. John, have people received lately the video instructions? Maybe we could send them out again to people, the email instructions.
We send them out once a week. So
okay.
I could bombard people more than that, but the emails go out weekly. The emails go out automatically every time you register. as using the defendant option. So we definitely encourage people, do it again, but also share it with a friend. Share it with a friend. It really is powerful when other people bring something to your attention and remind you and encourage you that this is important and you're not alone in this. So tell people to join wearej6.com. Join by registering at the website. It's free. We don't ask for money. There's no obligation. It's the safest thing you can do. And there's at wearej6.com, there's a defendant option and an advocate option. So if you are a former defendant, click the defendant option, and that'll plug you into our defendant group where we can help support you on a number of issues. But the first thing that'll happen is you'll get very specific instructions that make it really easy to compile simple materials with your video clips. And then we do the work from there and put it together.
I want to jump in again because I'm surprised. I want a lot of you, sometimes I chat back with you in the chat. Send the videos. Send the videos. They don't have to be perfect. I sometimes think people think it has to be perfect. My mom taught me a long time ago, the opposite of the good is the best. In pursuit of the best, sometimes we don't get stuff done. We're like, oh, it's good, but it's not good enough. We need to have those videos. It's the human quality. When you watch them week after week, you realize that these people are not perfect, but you're watching them, you're emotionally connecting. That's what's going to turn the tide. It's going to be unbelievably important for the national narrative, and it's going to be unbelievably important as we sit across the table and negotiate. So now is the time. Literally, this week you should do a video. It takes us a little time to produce them and edit them and shorten them and put them to music. So it's not instant. So please turn them in, guys. Like, that's what we can do. And it's also a permanent record for you. Like, we're doing all the work on your story, and that's a permanent memento that you can have to share with your world. This is something that I went through, and it helps people to understand what you've gone through, and you feel less alone. So I hope I get 20 videos this week. Please send them.
It is absolutely crucial. You can send us an email if you need to at info@wearej6.com. The best thing is to make sure you're registered and encourage others to register, both as defendants and advocates, and to just get involved, help making a story. Certainly, if you are a family member of a defendant, we would love for you to make a persecution testimonial video, because you weren't the defendant themselves, but adjacent and of course, intimately connected and involved. And our family members suffered really as harshly as we did. Something I talk about in the book that I wrote about my story being in prison was that I was so aware of the pain and trauma being experienced by my family and my friends while I was in there. Dr. Gold knows this well. Of course, she and I are close friends, and but we've all talked about this in the J6 community. We understand that incredible effect, that impact. So we would love to have a persecution testimonial video from anyone who's a family member. So there's lots of ways to get involved and to help. Also, Dr. Gold, you mentioned the Prisoner's Record, Jeff's Telegram group, which is really powerful. I was really touched and moved by those stories that he shared with me about the work he was doing. There's really great people in this community, including those who didn't actually get indicted or go to jail themselves, but still have jumped into this fray, which is a very American way. That is the American way, I think. And also, we do have a Telegram group for We Are J6, just because I know Telegram kind of helps to cross-pollinate with different conversations and groups. So if you go to t.me/wearej6, you'll find us on Telegram there. We had Jeff for a sec. Oh, wait, I think we got him back. Jeff, are we able to hear you? Let's see if it works this time.
Well, let's hope so. Does this work better?
Sounds better so far.
Okay, I had to restart my phone, and then StreamYard doesn't have a back button, so every time I hit back, it went back to Telegram.
Right.
So.
Oh no.
No, he's there.
What is going on?
It's glitching a bit, I suppose, but let's see if how's that? Go ahead, Jeff, give it a shot.
All right. How are we doing?
Doing good.
Am I audible?
Yeah,
Okay.
you sound.
So you were asking how I see myself in this J6 movement.
Yeah,
Honestly, mostly as a prayer warrior, but also helping make connections. There are people who reach out by DM who have situations, and typically I'm able to get them connected either to Professor or to Wong, that is EOJ. And so I try to be a facilitator, but mostly as a prayer warrior and somebody who can come alongside, listen to the stories, pray along with them. If they reach out to me by direct message, then we'll jump on the phone and have long conversations. So I try to make myself available just as a sounding board because sometimes people just need to talk.
they sure do. It's a really, it's a really
Yeah, I just
beautiful effort that you're
yeah.
doing, Jeff, and it's very critical that we all jump in and participate and support each other in various ways. Go ahead, Dr. Gold.
I'm curious if you guys drop in the chat. Like I found Jeff a couple of years ago, and I've been incredibly impressed at just how humble he is and how helpful he's been to everybody. Just, just praying twice a day, posting everybody's names when they've got court dates, when they go to prison, when they get out of prison. I mean, it's made it very, very human. Um, and I think, I started jumping into this space during COVID because I saw the dehumanization, like our government was just treating people like numbers and widgets as though we were all interchangeable. Some of us are dead, like the government didn't care. And then there's something about seeing everybody's names when they went to court, when they got out of court, when they went, there's something about it that just made it really, really personal and individual. And so I don't know, Jeff, I've really appreciated you. And I think you've had a huge impact on people. You had a pretty big impact on me, actually. So I want to say thank you.
Jeff, I would love to hear your thoughts for the audience about what you think J6ers can do to help advance this cause, restorative justice, for themselves, for their families, but also for the whole nation. What can J6ers be doing, and what can the advocates who are not J6ers, but those who understand the importance of the mission, what can they be doing?
I hardly think that I'm in a place to give advice to J6ers, but what I mean, coming at it from a spiritual aspect as a prayer warrior,
Yeah.
praying is a big thing. We try to let the Bible direct how we pray. Like just I'm looking at Psalm 116 and it says, I love the Lord because he has heard my voice and my pleas for mercy. And then it goes on to verse 12 where it says, what shall I render to the Lord for all his benefits to me? One of the things that we prayed about over these past 4 years was for J6ers to get closer to God, that he would
Wow.
use the time of privation in prison to draw them to himself. And so one of the things I would encourage them to do, those who found a new relationship with the Lord or restored relationship with the Lord, is to not forget him. That
Mm.
if we're not in prayer, if we're not seeking the Lord, then we are only seeking our own desires. And the perspective should be eternal. Our goal is not just earth, but our goal is heaven. And so that's part of what I think is to make sure to keep your first love. If you fell in love with the Lord during prison and he carried you through, don't forget him now that you're out.
That's amazing, Jeff. That's very powerful. I experienced what you're talking about myself, and I have been a believer my whole life, and that faith in Jesus and in the Bible and the God of the Bible was absolutely core, was foundational to all the decisions I made and the way I was able to endure that. And I talk about that in my book, but it's amazing when you're talking about prayer and how faithful you've been in praying for J6ers through this journey. It reminded me of the idea of mindfulness, and being mindful, praying twice a day, recording the names and different status of various J6ers. You've been very mindful, and I think that's incredible. It's really powerful. So I think that's an inspiration to all of us to be more mindful about things that we know are important, and of course, God always topping that list. But also that that God is personal, and it's not just a vague force or like the top of a priority list that we got to check off boxes. We believe in God to be a heavenly Father, in the sense of, if we've had any sense of a father or a mother or an older figure that has loved and helped develop us, nurture us, that is God wanting to nurture us and help us develop into the fullness of who He created us to be. And that's kind of touches back on that American heritage, that American dream of being the fullest and best that you can be, and that God has designed you to become, in being a human that is flourishing in goodness and in the spirit and truth of God and in the Word, and pursuing the kingdom of God, which includes earth and heaven. So I think that's powerful and exciting, because it's important for us as believers, it's important for us as Americans, to know that we've been given such an incredible privilege and opportunity to be in this country, to live in the freedoms and blessings that the country, is designed to protect and to facilitate, but also the duty and responsibility that we have to preserve that, to fight for it, because freedom is always one generation away from extinction, as a famous president reminded us. So it's beautiful and exciting, but also kind of awe-inspiring and humbling, the truth of who we are as Americans, and certainly as believers in God and the Bible, and the duty and responsibility that comes with that. So thank you for speaking to that. Go ahead, Dr. Gold, if you have a point before we jump into the video.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some videos, but I want to hear some people in the chat tell me that they're going to send me a video this week. So just put it in the chat. I'm putting it, if you make a promise, you got to keep a promise. I'm
Good
just
job.
looking for those videos. They're going to be important. Like, this is not, if those of you who follow me or know me, I don't do things just to do them. I don't speak just to speak. It's always with a purpose. The purpose of these videos is it's going to be something you can do that can change your future, can change your future. Some decision maker somewhere along the line is going to be moved by some of these videos, and it's going to make a difference. When we talk theoretically with various lawyers on our side, inevitably somebody throws out some big number, like, oh, if it's right, it doesn't even matter what the number is. And I always restrain that person, and I say, you can't even talk numbers until you see the range of harms, because
That's
even
right.
people on our side don't understand the range of harms that have happened to people. They don't understand that some FBI agent pointed guns into a crib. They don't understand somebody miscarried. They don't understand somebody lost a business. Like, the range is so big that even people who want to help us are going to shortchange what happened, because they don't understand the range. And the best way we can convey the range, because the range will eventually be listed, a line item, like on a budget, there'll be like 50 different harms that have happened, right? But they're just words on a page. But it says, I got kicked off, my house was foreclosed, for example. My husband went to prison for 4 years. He was the breadwinner. My house was foreclosed, is a line until they watch a video of what happened to that person when the house is foreclosed, right? That's going to make the difference. So this is selfish and altruistic. So please drop in the chat, and then we're going to hold you to it. Thank you.
Love it. Okay. Jeff, did you have any other thoughts before we launch into this new persecution testimonial?
Yes. I felt like Dr. Gold was kind of I felt like Dr. Gold was heaping too much praise on me. I want to point out this whole thing has been a group effort. If it weren't for Patriot Mail Project and Ansley and Angie B, these people who fed me the names each week, and Gal Smiley is the one who got the court, the court dates and everything, and sent them over to EOJ for EOJ to post on the channel. It's a team effort. I was just one who helped to facilitate the prayers because other people were so busy. I just don't want you guys to forget that it wasn't me. It was a lot of people who were teamed up in this thing. That's how we got the names. That's how we got the court dates. It's how we got the stories. And one more thing, we love when J6ers join our prayer call at night. We'll just open up the microphone. Sometimes they'll talk for an hour and lay out the entire story. And lately, the J6ers haven't been sharing much, or we haven't had new ones coming in.
Mhm.
We would love for you to come talk to us so that we can pray specifically over your situation. We take all
That's
comers and we just open up the mic and let them talk.
That's awesome, Jeff. Yeah, we'll make sure that we get a link for the prayer group that you have going on, so that folks that are visiting We Are J6 and looking for the various resources and different partners, that they can find that.
I
So that's
dropped it in the chat. It's the Telegram group, the
the
prisoner's
prisoner's
record.
record. Excellent. So yeah, but we'll connect some tech on that as well. All right, we are very excited to debut a persecution testimonial from Cindy Young. And let's see, panel group view. Let's see if this works. Okay. Here we go.
Retired 68-year-old mother. I had no other intentions other than making my voice heard. I have lost time with my family and had my life destroyed. I am not the same person I was 4 years ago. I have really faced financial ruin through all of this. Hello, my name is Cindy Young, and I am from Bristol, New Hampshire. On January 6, 2021, I chose to attend the Stop the Steal rally at the Capitol and to be at the Ellipse to hear our president give his speech. I had no other intentions that day other than being present and making my voice heard. Yes, I had deep concern that the past election was fraudulent and that the certification process of the electors needed to be debated and reviewed, as there were changes in the election processes that occurred in several states that were modified outside of election law. I had even stated in an interview prior to going to D.C. that I believed that our country was at a crossroad, a critical crossroad. I still believe that today. After the speech at the Ellipse, I walked to the Capitol. Again, I had no other intentions other than making my voice heard. I stood on the grounds with others and experienced the confusing attack on the crowd by the Capitol Police and Metro Police, who were launching munitions into the crowd, agitating those who stood outside the Capitol through the misuse of those munitions, I believe. When I entered the Capitol, I was inside for approximately 26 minutes. I walked through open doors. I was never approached or asked to leave, or even told that I was not supposed to be in there. I walked from location to location, following the crowd, and made a direct line from the path of entry until the point of exit. I stopped at some locations where the crowd had bunched together and they were jammed up and they were using their First Amendment rights of free speech. They were saying things like, "Stop the steal. This is our house." I even said this place needs a good saging. And those words would later be used against me in the court of law. I declined a plea deal that was offered early on, even though I had been heavily pressured by my then appointed public defenders to accept it. They told me that if I didn't accept it, I would be opened up to further scrutiny by the government, which I wouldn't want to have, and also the potential of a further felony charge, 2 charges actually, that would each carry a potential of 20 years imprisonment. I still declined, fighting to maintain my innocence and avoid the potential incarceration in prison. I was charged with the 4 misdemeanors. I received 2 disorderly conduct charges, one picketing and parading, and another of entering and remaining. Not felonies, all misdemeanors. I pled not guilty to all, and I asked for a jury trial. I went to trial in Washington, D.C., after being prevented from asking for a change of venue. When I went to trial, I don't feel it was fairly conducted with a jury of my peers. The jurors had admittedly had strong negative feelings against Donald J. Trump and supporters like myself. One juror had even been sat on another J6 trial and it admitted that. And then my foreman of the jury was an attorney that served with a firm that wrote a brief against Donald J. Trump. I was found guilty by this jury and sentenced to 4 months incarceration, followed by 2 months home detention. I was asked to give a full accounting of my gives and go, which they said would not be used against me as long as I gave a full accounting. And I was given a sentence with $4,750 in fines and court costs after the full assessment of the funds that I had raised. And these funds were raised for my legal fees, travel expenses. I was surveilled by the FBI since January 13th, 2021, and put on pretrial restrictions from the point of when I was arraigned in June of 2023. Until the receipt of my pardon, I remained on those pretrial restrictions. Even after my pardon, my probation officer declined to halt the request for my transfer to Pennsylvania Federal Facility, as she said she did not have formal court paperwork. We had to issue further motions to obtain an order from the judge to vacate this sentence. This has been a brutal assault on my peace of life. As a retired 68-year-old mother and grandmother, I have lost time with my family and had my life destroyed on many levels. Mentally, financially, emotionally. I am not the same person I was 4 years ago. I had opened a small business, being a retiree, a business that involved the things that I love, which surrounded healing modalities, Native American crafting, holistic herbs, healing workshops to help those who are also seeking healing from emotional traumas in their lives. I closed the business in summer of 2024, faced with the potential of incarceration. I knew that I wouldn't be able to balance keeping my home and keeping the business and maintaining the business. It would be impossible, as once I was incarcerated, I would face the loss of my Social Security benefits as well as any employment that I had. I would have no stream of financial ability at all. And I knew that balancing all of these things wouldn't work, so I chose to close the business. Will I ever get back to the same person? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how to put the pieces together and survive and pick up all of life that has been shattered around me. Restorative justice for me means holding those accountable that I believe were responsible for the setup against fellow Americans that day on January 6th. I would hope that perhaps someday I would be also able to obtain some form of financial restitution, as my future being a retiree is now very bleak. I've used up all of my retirement funds to defend myself, and I have really faced financial ruin through all of this. I am Cindy Lou Young. I am a J6 defendant. I am one of the thousands harmed by the weaponized government, and we are your American brothers and sisters. We are hurting, and we are J6.
The American people need to see these stories of political persecution. Please share them widely and join us at wearej6.com to help deliver restorative justice through victim recovery and government accountability.
First of all, I learned a couple things I didn't realize. I cannot believe what her judge did. Everyone who's tuned in week after week knows I'm hot after getting these judges to be sitting on impeachment hearings. This is totally violates any norms. You can't sit people like that for juries. I'm I am, watching the collapse of my medical profession, watching the collapse of my legal profession. It's very upsetting. I want to answer somebody in the chat who said, why isn't Trump doing anything? Even with allies, you have to put forth your case. That's what we're doing. Okay, guys. So like everybody needs to put forth their side so we can sit and have a meaningful conversation. Even if Trump wanted to make restoration like right now to all the J6ers, it would be politically awkward, and it's much better coming through a kind of an organized request from many, many J6ers. I just wanted to say that because I know a lot of people kind of wonder. I'm very optimistic about us getting to a good final place. I genuinely am. But it just has to follow a little bit of a process. Thanks.
Apologies, I was muted there. Thank you for that summary, Dr. Gold. I'm honestly blown away by every single one of these persecution testimonials. They bring me to tears. I walked through basically every step of all of this, just like Cindy Young laid out. I know all of this stuff. I went through it, and yet every time I hear it, I'm just shook. I'm blown away as if it was the first time or it hadn't happened to me, even though it did. It's kind of bizarre, but it's just it's very tragic, and it's very disturbing that this happened, that it happened so methodically, that it happened so maliciously over 4 years. That is a long time. So I hope people are seeing and sensing and processing how deep these wounds are, how deep this damage really has gone. So I think that's important. It's powerful. But wow, thank you, Cindy Young, for sharing your story, for your courage to put your face and your heart out there. And we just welcome everyone to do this with us. You're not alone. You can do it together. We're here to support you. But there is no power or truth like a story that you have lived through yourself, that you know and that you can share. Nothing speaks like that. So we just encourage you to participate and follow the example that Cindy Young and many others have been doing here at wearej6.com. There's this tremendous courage and perseverance, tremendous suffering. I'm just overwhelmed by that every time. So, Jeff, did you have any thoughts on that video? And just the reaction to Cindy Young's story? And obviously you're familiar with many of these stories and have been participating in the sharing and the discussions and emotional and support and spiritual support of J6ers. But what's your reaction to that?
Well, Cindy is a sweetheart. She has been in our prayer group many times, and we have shed many a tear together as we cried and prayed over her situation. That's one of the blessings of what we've been able to do is, again, just being the sounding board and then being able to carry people up before the throne of God and pray for them. She's a sweetheart, like I said, and it's an honor that she was willing to come and share her difficulties with us so we could pray for her.
Absolutely. Well said. Folks, we are really grateful, as always, that you are here joining us on the live stream, that you are here in spirit and truth, praying and loving and supporting and persevering in this battle, in this war that we're still waging against dark, unseen spiritual forces, as the Bible tells us. So we're grateful for you. Please, again, over and over, continue to visit, register, and share at wearej6.com. It really is up to each and every one of you to do what only you can do in your life and in the sphere that God has given you. And that could be a number of different things, but we hope and pray that registering and sharing and participating in wearej6.com is part of that and is on that list for you. So please do that. And Dr. Gold, let me know if you have any closing thoughts today before we wrap up? And we will, of course, invite everyone to join us again next Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern, as always.
No, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming back week after week. We want this to be a positive, uplifting experience, and sometimes we have a lot of new information to share, but it's always intended to be positive, uplifting. You should feel empowered. Nobody should walk away from this thinking, you know, I can't do anything and I'm just one person. That's the opposite. You should walk away from this thinking, I'm going to make a video, or I'm going to tell people, I'm going to share the website. You should feel like stronger and bigger and bolder just by knowing that there's a whole community around you. I hope it's a blessed Easter, for everybody who celebrates Easter, and it's a big deal. And just that we're all on the right side of doing the right things. Every one of us in our own way has really been fighting hard. We've endured a lot, and we are going to prevail at the end of this. Truth always wins at the end. God always wins at the end. So if we haven't won yet, it's not the end.
Absolutely right. And if we do not get tired of doing good, then we will reap a harvest of blessing at just the right time. So time is part of God's world, and he's in control of it. So we don't always understand time. It doesn't always work out the way we calculate or hope and wish for, but we don't have to wish. We can have total peace and confidence in the rock solid knowledge that victory belongs to us in Jesus. Victory is found in God and his plan for us. And we are grateful for that. We're dedicated to pursuing that and to supporting each and every one of you guys together in that journey for restorative justice and for liberty and justice for all in America, one nation under God. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. As always, God bless you all this Easter holiday. We'll see you this week at wearej6.com, and we'll see you here on the live stream next Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. God bless you and your families, and God, may you continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
And thank you, Jeff, for joining us.
Yes. God bless you all.